I told everyone I was doing it for the quiet. That was the line I repeated to myself while packing my borrowed backpack on the carpet of my apartment. Quiet, space, self-reliance. I'd read that first-time hikers often overpack, so I tried not to. Before we continue, subscribe and like the video to help this channel grow. Enjoy. I laid everything out neatly like I'd seen in photos online. Headlamp, extra batteries, printed trail map sealed in a Ziploc bag, compass I didn't really know how to use. First aid kit with more gauze than confidence. Bear spray, because Reddit said always carry bear spray, even if you're not in bear country. I was meticulous, almost reverent. I had spent weeks lurking on hiking forums and subreddits, scrolling until my eyes burned. Don't hike alone. Tell someone your route. If something feels off, turn back. I saved posts. I copied checklists. I memorized phrases like situational awareness and leave no trace. I ignored the ones that said, don't go your first time by yourself. The trailhead was somewhere in the American West, one of those places where the road narrows without warning, and your phone signal dies quietly, without ceremony. Pines crowded the sky. The sign at the trailhead was sun-bleached and cheerful, with a cartoon hiker giving a thumbs up. I took a picture of it for no real reason and texted it to my sister with the caption, "If I get eaten by a bear, avenge me." She sent back a laughing emoji. The trail was well marked at first. Friendly, packed dirt, little wooden posts with arrows nailed to them. I relaxed faster than I should have. I remember thinking how exaggerated all the warnings felt, how the woods didn't feel threatening at all. Just tall, old, patient. I took notes in the small notebook I'd brought, like some kind of explorer. 9:12 a.m. trail is wider than I expected. Smells like pine and damp earth. Feeling good. 9:47 a.m. past two hikers heading back, older couple. They smiled but didn't stop. At around 10:30, the trail forked. Left, marked, narrow, curving gently uphill. Right, unmarked, barely visible, just a thin interruption in the undergrowth. Reddit had opinions about forks. If it's unmarked, don't take it. Trails don't just disappear. That's how people get lost. I stood there longer than I want to admit. The marked trail looked busy, trampled, predictable. The unmarked one felt quieter, like it was holding its breath. I told myself I'd only go a little way down it, just to look. The woods changed almost immediately. The light thinned, filtered into long gray strands between the trees. The ground dipped and softened. My footsteps sounded louder, wrong, like I was intruding. I turned back after maybe 10 minutes, but when I reached what I thought was the fork, it wasn't there. Just trees. Dense, overlapping trees. No sign, no cheerful arrow. I laughed then. A short, sharp sound. Okay, I thought. This is the part everyone talks about. I checked my map. The lines meant nothing. The compass needle wobbled like it was indecisive. I started walking in what I was pretty sure was downhill. That was when I heard footsteps that weren't mine. At first, I rationalized it instantly. Echo, animal, my imagination. Every forum warned about this too, how isolation messes with your head. I stopped walking. The footsteps stopped. I waited. My heart thudded, loud enough to feel in my teeth. I took another step. So did whatever it was. The sound wasn't heavy. Not a bear. Not a deer. Too deliberate. Too even. Like someone matching my pace without quite sinking to it. "Hello?" I called, hating how thin my voice sounded. Nothing answered. But I had the distinct, crawling sensation of being listened to. I picked up speed. So did it. I didn't run. Running is how you fall. Running is how you panic. That's what Reddit said. Instead, I walked faster, breathing carefully, counting steps. The woods pressed closer. Branches snagged my sleeves like fingers that didn't want me to leave. Then I heard my name. It came from somewhere behind me. My voice. My exact voice, down to the faint rasp I get when I'm nervous. "Hey," it said. "Wait up." I stopped dead. Every hair on my body lifted. The sound was wrong. Not distorted enough to be obviously fake. Not human enough to be real. Like a recording played through something that didn't quite understand how mouths worked. I turned slowly. There was no one there. I told myself I hadn't heard it. I wrote in my notebook with shaking hands. 12:06 p.m. Possibly auditory hallucination? Stress? Wind? I didn't believe it even as I wrote it. The trail, if it could still be called that, kept narrowing. Trees crowded in closer than seemed natural. Trunks bent subtly inward like they were listening to each other over my head. I became aware of a smell that wasn't forest. Old copper, wet fur, something sweet and rotten underneath. Sometimes I heard movement to my left, sometimes to my right. Never directly behind me anymore. Always just out of sight. At one point I heard my sister's voice, laughing, saying my name the way she does when she's about to tease me. I screamed then, full-throated, ugly. The sound shattered the quiet, and for a moment, just a moment, everything went still. No footsteps, no rustling. Even the wind seemed to pause. Then, very close to my ear, something whispered, "Don't do that." I ran. I don't remember how long. Time stretched and folded. The forest became a blur of gray and green and grasping shadows. I fell once, hard enough to knock the breath out of me. When I scrambled back up, there were footprints in the dirt beside mine. They were almost human. Almost. Too long. Toes stretched forward like they were reaching. The thing started to speak more after that. It told me helpful things. That I was going the wrong way. That there was water just ahead. That I could rest if I wanted to. Sometimes it sounded like me. Sometimes like people I knew. Once like someone I didn't recognize at all. Low, patient, amused. I never saw it. That was worse. As the light began to fade, panic hollowed me out. I was thirsty, shaking, my legs rubbery. I thought about all the posts I'd read about people found miles from trails, shoes neatly placed beside them. I wondered if this was how it started. Then I remembered something buried in a comment thread I'd almost skipped. Someone had mentioned, half-jokingly, that if you think something is following you in the woods, you should do something unpredictable. Break patterns. Don't let it learn you. I stopped. Completely. Abruptly. The footsteps stopped too, but not fast enough. I turned and screamed nonsense. Just noise. I waved my arms, dropped my pack, laughed and cried at the same time. I turned in a tight circle, refusing to let the trees decide where I looked. The forest felt irritated. The smell grew stronger. I caught a glimpse then, not of a body, but of movement that bent the wrong way, like a reflection sliding out of alignment. The air shimmered, and for the first time, the voice faltered. It didn't like not knowing what I'd do next. I grabbed my bear spray and fired blindly into the trees. The sound that followed wasn't human. It was furious and wounded and far too close. The woods erupted with crashing movement, but it was retreating, pulling back, angry. I didn't wait. I ran until I burst through brush and nearly tumbled onto gravel. A road, a real one, with tire tracks and a rusted mile marker. I collapsed there, sobbing, laughing, alive. A pickup truck found me an hour later. The driver didn't ask many questions, just gave me water, a blanket, and drove me back towards civilization. When I looked back at the tree line, I thought I saw someone standing there, watching, but it didn't follow. I hike now sometimes, never alone, never off trail. I still read Reddit, still take notes. And sometimes, when the woods are quiet in just the wrong way, I hear my own voice far off among the trees. Still learning, still patient, but it never comes any closer.